I'm Louise Kennedy, the founder of Oculus HR. Welcome to Mind the Generation Gap. I've spent my career helping people work better together. And right now is such an interesting time to be in business. We're seeing a real shift in the workplace as different generations start to bring new ideas and also opportunities. In this series, I want to look past the headlines and also explore how that we can bridge the generation gap. I'll be talking to business owners, educators and the next generation to hear their stories and really find out how we can work together to future-proof our businesses. So, thanks very much, Sam, for coming along today. So today we've got Sam England, who is the HR Director at Gentoo. So do you just want to start off by telling us a little bit about what your role is and what work you're doing within the Sunderland area?
Yeah, of course. Hello. Sam England, like you say, Director of People at Gentoo, where I've been for the last 10 years. That has flown by the way. So what we do at Gentoo, if those that don't know, we're a housing association within Sunderland.
Okay.
We have 1,200 colleagues that work for us and provide the amazing services that we do for our 69,000 customers within Sunderland as well.
Yeah.
So we provide services of providing homes that are warm and decent and safe within the Sunderland region, and it covers services from housing management, so your housing coordinators that go out and deal with our customers face to face on any housing issues that they have. We also have our trades colleagues that go out and support with any general routine repairs to the properties, and we also have our asset colleagues who deal with the major investment works. So that will be if we have refit programs such as new kitchens, bathrooms, windows, roofs, etc. So we have those colleagues that support us in that space, and then behind the scenes of all our support services.
Which you'll need plenty if you've got 1,200 colleagues.
Yeah, exactly. That keep everything ticking in the background for those frontline colleagues as well.
And so your role as people director is you look after all of the 1,200 people with lots of different initiatives and way forward and kind of how would you explain your role to people of what you do?
Very busy, but no, seriously, it's very varied. I think the world of HR has massively changed, if I'm being totally honest. Gone are the days, certainly for us at Gentoo, and I'm a true firm believer this is all down to our culture and our colleagues as well. We've moved away from heavy ER, I would say, and we're moving more into a space now of more strategic, project, purposeful driven works in and around the business. So and that's anything from looking at a new wellbeing programme, an initiative, whether that includes financial wellbeing, which we've just launched and included. We look our recognition platforms, etc. We're doing a lot of work at the moment on strategic workforce planning and succession planning as well.
So planning for the future,
exactly,
what the business is going to
future
look
world
like.
of work, what that looks like, and obviously with the change and dynamics of technology and what that's going to do for us. We're in a fortunate position at Gentoo, though, that we still need all of our frontline colleagues because they provide the services to our customers that will never change.
I was going to say that's never going to be replaced by any AI, is it?
No way. I mean, but there are ways we can work smarter. With AI, so it's looking at those pieces of work where technology can support and release our colleagues to do the value add in terms of rather than replacing roles that wouldn't happen for us.
And so do you think all of those things that you're talking about have been a big cultural shift around it?
Yeah.
I mean, so you said you've been there 10 years. Do you think there's a cultural shift of where you were, where the business was to where it is now? Do you think that's impacted upon it?
Huge difference. And I would say certainly since 2023, particularly, we've got Louise Bassett, who's our chief exec. Since then, she's from a people background as well. In her previous
drives
life,
us forward,
exactly. So she is very, very passionate about our colleagues and our customers, and to have that support behind us is fantastic. From a cultural perspective, we've gone from strength to strength. We've made some real positive change, and in the last 2 years, we've actually just been recognised last year is in the top 50 for a great place to work, super large organisations as well. So culturally it's amazing. There's behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that's got us to that place, don't get me wrong. So we stripped back the values. That was really important for us to get the good basis. Our colleagues built those for us as well. We didn't.
So you got everybody involved with
everybody
that process.
involved, and that was the real critical changing point in our organisation as well, because that's where we turned everything on its head. From a cultural perspective, we stripped out the values. Our colleagues built them. But that then changed the ethos of change management moving forward, where everything's from the bottom up now.
So now
nothing's
very
from the
much
top down.
integrate everybody within the organisation.
Any change initiative that we have now, we have our colleagues build it. They also, as part of the new values that we launched, they built the behaviours framework, and we call those values in action.
Right.
And we also looked at the performance management discussions, which then the values were the golden thread through.
Yeah.
And the colleagues named those the brilliant conversations.
Yeah.
So they've built all that, you know, and they're really invested.
And how do you do that from an organisational point of view? Because obviously, as you say, you've got people who are out doing trades, you've got people that are the support staff, you've got so many different types of employees, haven't you, of all different skill sets and abilities and kind of mental capacity, I suppose. How do you then bring everybody together to be able to do that? Because it's so easy for a business to say, oh, well, they wouldn't be able to add any value to it. How do you keep that momentum going? Yeah,
it's a great point, isn't it? I think you're right. And certainly when a lot of our frontline colleagues, particularly in the trades, are working on their own day in, day out. And this is where this isn't an initiative by me. This isn't an initiative by the business. It's something that we're all signed up for, but is driven by the management and driven by our colleagues. So that momentum and the everyone involved is driven within their own teams rather than anything again from the top down. So the management function are critical in all of that, to make sure that the communication's on point, everyone's aware of the messages, and everyone's got a voice to speak up as well.
Because that can be quite isolating for, as you say, the trades that are out there, isn't it, and how to bring them in, because negativity is quite easy to breed, isn't it? So actually it's the managers who keep on top of those communications and the activities with the individuals who are remote to keep it together.
Absolutely. And it's all about trust. You know, the managers have to trust the colleagues have to trust the managers. It's really, and again, we've turned that round, and we saw that through our colleague survey, because prior to 2023, it had gone. To be totally honest with you, the trust had gone. But the management teams, we've done amazing work with them on various different development programs, and again linking to values, etc. And they've really turned that around. And they've seen the value of working directly with their colleagues now and their direct reports.
So they're getting something back from it.
Massively.
It's more of a two-way.
Massively.
So one of the things I quite liked, and I know we've mentioned it before when we've spoken, is brilliant conversations. Do you just want to explain a little bit about what that is? Because I think that's the type of model that, you know, any size business would be able to fit into.
And I think this is really important to the conversation we're having around Gen Z as well, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Because not one size fits all, and that's very much what our colleagues told us as well. When we worked with our colleagues about performance management, and I hate that word, by the way. It's so stuffy, isn't it?
It is, but it's you don't know how else to describe it.
I know, but it's so old fashioned, and I think that's exactly what our colleagues were telling us as well. So they wanted us to rip it up, and we were more than happy with that approach as well. And like I say, it's not one size fits all. So the approach is, yes, you've got a brilliant conversation there. It's every quarter. It needs to be scheduled in to make sure you're keeping up with that meaningful contact and communication. All colleagues have 4 goals set within there, and one of them must be relating to our customers as well. And it'll be to review that and just general well-being, how people are. Nothing formalised. It doesn't need to be documented in terms of a ticky box exercise. It can be a few comments, so then there's a record of the conversation, and not for not necessarily record keeping, and we need a record of it. It's mainly around, so it's acknowledgement of our colleague and the fantastic work that they're doing is the purpose for that. But these conversations, when we were speaking to colleagues, some people didn't feel comfortable, especially our trades, sat in a office environment, which they never come into. They sat over a desk with their manager, and it's not natural.
Yeah.
So it was a discussion point around, let's just go out for a coffee. Let's go for a walk. I'll come to you, whatever fits.
So completely flexible about the way that it
Completely
operates,
flexible, how it operates, where it is, where it's held, and what's discussed. So if a particular colleague is struggling at that moment in time with their well-being, that'll be the focus of the conversation.
Okay.
What's the point in shoehorning in? Oh, you're doing great with your goals at the moment, when it's just,
when actually there's got a major health concern
that's
that they've
the
actually got to
priority.
in place.
Yeah.
So, and do you think that that's helped with the engagement at, I suppose, all generations? Do you think
all
it's helped?
generations? And this thing at Gentoo, I think the work that we do, it lends across all generations. It's we do it for all. It's very, very inclusive. We need to make sure that the communication's there across all generations. So with that, we make sure that it's impactful, it's purposeful, everyone gets the same message at the same time. And again, that's driven by our managers as well.
So do you think, obviously, communication plays a major part of the way that the business is operating within culture? So do you think your business has focused upon Gen Z as a communication piece, or is it that communication just has been a priority and actually, because of all the work you've done with your managers, they've adapted to the individual people as opposed to a section of generational people?
Exactly that. I think it would be impossible to focus and section your business out and do it from a generational perspective. I mean, we're quite broad in terms of the generations that we have. I think from a fairness perspective, it needs to be same and consistent as well in terms of the approach. But you're right, in terms of then in that one-on-one support piece, if there's anything additional, we'll bring that in then, whatever that looks like. But we're very much focusing on the communication. We don't always get it right. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're perfect, because we're not. We always get things wrong. But that's how you learn as a business, as an organisation, isn't it? But we'll communicate. I always say to the teams and to the people managers, there's nothing wrong with over communicating as well. If you think you've done it enough, do it again.
Do it a little bit more.
From a change perspective, you can't do enough communication, but we do fall short sometimes. I think the recent lesson is communicating when we've not got anything else to say as well. Is one of the recent learnings. So an example I'll give is we're moving our trades colleagues, putting some major investment in Sunderland. We're building a new depot at Eastgate Point. Some of the new buildings down there.
Is that outside the Rage Cart Centre?
Yeah. So we're making that massive investment for our trades colleagues. And we were at the stage where it was at the legal process, the really boring piece, which is dry as sticks. We thought no one really wants to know about this. We're in the process of signing paperwork, etc., etc. But actually, by staying quiet and not saying there's nothing to say because we're in this process, bear with us, you'll hear more on X date. Colleagues make their own narrative, don't they?
Yeah, they make their own stories, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, it's delayed, it's this. So I think that was a massive learning, just for when we don't have anything to say, to say that.
Something,
from a communication perspective as well.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Okay, so from the point of view, obviously, you have different people of all different ages that you have working within the business, and I would imagine Gentoo's been in Sunderland for such a long time. You will have people who've been there for years and years and years. Probably would it be up to about 30 years worth of service? Is it quite as long as that?
So this is where it gets interesting. We're celebrating our 25th year this year.
25th year.
25 years of Gentoo. However, we were Legacy Sunderland City Council,
Yes,
so
you
Sunderland
transferred
Housing.
people out, didn't you?
We did. So it was a transfer into Gentoo in 25 years ago in 2000. However, we had colleagues that transferred and worked for Sunderland Housing prior to that. We've got a colleague that is celebrating 60 years service with us. We've got, how many is it now? We've got 180 colleagues that have been with us for 25 years or more.
Right, okay.
And we have we do a lot around recognition and milestones, but we're celebrating this year in terms of the 25-year piece and doing something really special about that.
Yeah, it is something to celebrate, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's massive.
And especially someone who's been with you 60 years.
It's unbelievable.
Between the council and then moving over.
The one thing is that everyone is very, very loyal and dedicated from a Gentoo perspective. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Turnover is trending at between 6 and 7% year on year, which is fantastic.
Which is fantastic when you've got the trades and things included in there as well, isn't it?
Exactly. And a lot of colleagues are celebrating highly tenured time with us.
Time that's there. So obviously, I would imagine you're continuously looking for new people to come into your business.
Yes.
You know, you have a relatively low turnover, 6 or 7%, not 67, 6 or 7%. You've got such a kind of a low turnover, but I would imagine as the business continues to grow, that obviously you're continuously looking for people.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that? Obviously, I would imagine a lot of the people that you're bringing in are around that Gen Z age group, because that's kind of, up to that point of being 29. Yeah. So kind of as a business, what do you do around that employment side of things? Employability really, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes back to the earlier point around the work that we're doing around strategic workforce planning as well. So we look at the demographics of our current teams, what that looks like in each of the roles across the business that we have, particularly within our trades as well.
Okay.
And what we do is we understand what that demographic looks like, what's the trajectory around retirement age. We have a policy in place where there's routes to retirement as well, so you can flexi retire and drop down your hours, etc.
Just do part-time.
Yeah. So we look at those demographics too, which then helps us identify what the numbers or the need is in each of those roles for each apprentice intake each year. Okay, So we have a strong apprentice intake, which I think is really, really important for the future of work. And we're an anchor institution within Sunderland as well at Gentoo, and we're always inundated with applications for our apprentice roles. And it's something that we're really passionate about giving back. And I think more businesses need to do this, by the way.
Yeah.
Big passion of mine in terms of apprenticeship roles within the region. It's just been released this week, hasn't it, around the unemployment rates for those age brackets that Gen Z will fall into. So you've got the age brackets of 16 to 24s. UK-wide trend is up by just over 1% at 15.8%.
Okay, so it's a huge amount of unemployed for that age range, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And there's so much skill set within that can be used, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
But even worse for the North East.
Okay, so what's the percentages for the North East?
So for the North East, we're looking at between 18 and 20%.
So that's a huge amount of unemployment, So, and that's really between the 16 and 24-year-old range, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot in that space.
Yeah, so really there's a real niche there for you to be able to engage with people, or any business to be able to do, but you're actively doing those things already, aren't you?
Loads of different initiatives in that space, so we're doing a lot, so it's probably good to start off at the schools piece and what we're doing in that space. So I think early engagement's really important, and that's by going into even primary school level, creating that engagement, creating the awareness around the world of work, what Gentoo does, and bringing that to life a bit more. And when I say we, I mean our colleagues go out and do that. It's no good me, the HR team, going out and standing in front of the students where they don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from our electricians. They want to hear from our housing teams who are going to be bringing this to life and what the world of work looks like for them in Gentoo.
And is that done as kind of a fun type of exercise for them? I imagine, kind of if you're talking to 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds,
it depends.
It's not just about kind of a talk as such, but is it bring something to life for it?
Yes, exactly. So if for example, it's the electrical team going down, they'll take an electrical circuit board equipment piece where they can actually do something and be a bit more technical with it, and or if it's our IT teams, they'll go out and take something with them. So there's always something more to it than there's nothing more boring, is it? Even as adults standing with a PowerPoint presentation and boring people.
This is electrical work.
Doesn't exactly bring it to life, does it? But they do a lot in that space, and our colleagues love it. They love going down and speaking to the kids at primary schools, and Then we look at the engagement at more secondary school educational settings. So looking at going in and doing more detailed talks.
Yeah.
Again, it's our colleagues going down. What I try and get more from at that level is our apprentices to go in.
Right,
and
okay.
do the talks
so
as well.
Talking the talk of what
Exactly.
they actually do. Yeah.
And bringing it to life in terms of their journey and what that's looked like as an apprenticeship as well.
And do your apprenticeship start at 16, as in school
Varies.
leavers? So
Yeah, can do.
You can do from there.
Yeah.
Or whether it's kind of for 18 onwards as well.
No,
Or could be.
it's depends on the role. We've had a couple of occasions where we've had more A-level entry. So
Okay.
if that's that was for our legal team.
Okay.
To have a legal apprenticeship and a surveying role.
Okay.
But on the main, it's 16 onwards. But we get adult apprentices
Right,
as well.
okay,
People
yeah.
that are looking to change their careers
Okay.
and take a completely different tact as well. But no, there's a lot of intervention at that level, and we've started work. We work very closely with EPNI, Education Partnership North East.
Okay.
We've got a great relationship with them, and we've started work on what we call the Gentoo Trades Academy. And what that is for students aged in years 10 to 11, where they come in, they can drop 2 of their GCSEs, none of the fundamental ones,
Yeah.
thankfully, and they then do a construction qualification with EPNI, with Education Partnership North East, so via Sunderland College, and we come in and bring the lens of the workplace.
Right.
So it's really unique. They're all branded up Gentoo, in terms of they're there to represent us. They come in, they've got dedicated time for work experience. Our colleagues go out and speak to them and have that dedicated time with them as well. We show them what it's like to work in an organisation in detail. We show them our values, our behaviours, what it's really like to be there from a behavioural perspective. But the purpose of that as well from a North East piece is around not only creating the opportunities, but the aspiration.
Yeah. That there's more.
There's more.
But
Yeah.
actually to have that experience at year 10, 11, so your 15, 16-year-olds to be able to have that experience is eye-opening, isn't it?
Yeah.
And especially if they have parents that potentially don't work, isn't it? Or kind of, whatever their personal situations are, starts to provide a bit more of a structure to them
It
about
does.
what work and life could look like, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think certainly when we're looking at the numbers of 18 to 20% within the North East as well, there's more that we need to do.
Yeah.
So that initiative is really important to us to make sure that that's done, because you're right, that there might be in the background a generational unemployment piece, or it might be that, that there's an additional need of the child.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work with the Beacon of Light and bringing them on board with this piece of work as well. It was a fantastic case that we had with a student there who had been completely disengaged from education since year 7. We've sponsored him to go through this our Trades Academy, and now he's come to the end of his 2 years. He's got his qualification, which is equivalent to a T level 2, and now he's staying on to college, and he's going to do his T level 3, which is just amazing.
Well, it is, because what would have been the likelihood of him doing that if you hadn't engaged him in that programme?
So we've created that aspirational piece for him.
And the likes of he'll go to college at this point, but then will it be a case that the likelihood is that he'll work for Gentoo in the future on the apprenticeship?
Can, absolutely.
He can apply for the apprenticeship programme.
Yes, exactly. So anyone that does our Trades Academy, we work with Bishop Chadwick's at the moment, with that school provision. Any of the students that do the Trades Academy have an automatic application put through if they want to, and they have an automatic interview for our apprenticeship program. They still have to perform in that interview. It's not a given. However, there is that opportunity there.
I suppose their interview is part of the experience that they've already had, isn't it? Understanding the values, understanding the work ethic of it, and having those qualifications that come with it as well. So it's quite a positive interview. Because they've had the experience that they've had already. Yeah,
exactly. But it's not, for me as well, it's not all about, because they do the Trades Academy and put heavy investment into it, it's not the case of we need to get all of those students as a return of investment employed with Gentoo. It's absolutely not. It's looking at that bigger picture piece around if they go into further education, they find something else with another construction firm.
Yeah.
Or we've got a student this year that's actually going into the Marines.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's all, you know, that it's great that they've had the opportunity. They've got this qualification that they would never have had before.
Yeah. Had not given the opportunity, isn't
Exactly.
it? And I think there is a part of, I know when I worked at an automotive, you know, taking people who'd maybe come in at the lower level of kind of line operator wise, and then seeing them move through, and certainly kind of one person left as being a quality manager and went to another business. And there is a real sense of purpose for a business who actually, in essence, change people's lives, haven't you? You've made a difference and changed people's lives, and you're getting the opportunity to do that at this Gen Z age, to be able to take people through and nurture them and potentially bring them into employment, or certainly give them a good feel of what employment looks like. The good feel of it as well.
Yeah.
So how do you, kind of to touch on, we'll touch on slightly there about the generational employment, that's potentially something that you see within your client base, isn't it? That you have people at this generations of unemployment.
Yeah.
How does that play out? Because it's really, it's a talent pool there already, isn't it, when we're talking about that youth unemployment in the area?
Yeah, it is. And I think what we like to do at Gentoo is, you know, as part of our corporate strategy, customers are at the heart of everything.
Yeah.
It's why we're here. We're here to serve our customers and provide them warm, decent and safe homes. And I think within the strategy, we need to make sure that the customer has a piece within that as well. So from an employability perspective is one of the key pieces of work that we do, where we're trying to help our customers in that space back into work as well.
Okay.
So there's a role that we're playing in that space to help customers understand their potential, try and help them with any barriers that they may have. So whether that be transport, whether that be childcare, and help them in that space. A lot of the time it is skills.
Yeah.
So we're working really closely with, we've just been awarded some adult skills funding via the North East Combined Authority, working in partnership with EPNI and Regen, the construction firm. And we're doing a lot of work in that space around, can we provide these skills within the construction area to give our customers the opportunity to then apply for work thereafter as well.
So it's really trying to empower them, giving them the skill set to be able to do it, or certainly giving them the means, transport, childcare, to be able to take the next step forward with it as well.
Yeah, it's a brilliant workshop and programme that we've partnered with Regen on. And at the end of it, you know, you get PPE, you get your CSCS cards, you during the course you get lunch provided, your transport costs provided. So there's all the help there to try and make a difference. Yeah.
So when you bring people in, obviously we're talking about that unemployment rate and potentially, you know, the younger people that we're talking about, and, you know, they may well have parents who don't work. How do you, in essence, discuss like work ethic? You know, we've talked about the cultural element of it. How do you bring it all together? Because actually, you know, certainly doing what we do, you know, you always have people who don't know how to kind of work within the boundaries of the workplace, you know, that there has to be some rules, there has to be showing up for work on time, doesn't it? You know, kind of, you know, the courteousness to the clients that you've got. How do you install that? How does that work?
We've got a really strong onboarding, a really strong onboarding and induction programme for all colleagues. It's exactly the same, which includes all those pieces. So everything, the golden threads, the values and the behaviours piece, which would cover that piece off. We also have our care model and looking at what's beyond the doorstep piece for our customers side of things. So all of that is given up front in terms of an onboarding programme for each and every colleague that joins Gentoo. But in terms of the apprenticeship level and thinking about it from a Gen Z perspective, if you are an apprenticeship, what we do is you've got a dedicated mentor. And that mentor's been through a robust training programme as well with Sunderland College around mentorship and what that is and what that looks like. So there's always someone there to support them. And even any new colleague in the business, they would have a buddy
Yeah.
Again, someone that's there to support them, and that's on a peer level where they can get help, guidance and support if they need that as well.
So I think that buddying system works well, doesn't it? You know, I
Yeah.
think kind of have that mentor or have a buddy
Yes.
does work across at any age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think just to be able to feel secure, but I think probably more so as we're talking about kind of the people that have been unemployed or, you know, trying to get people into the workplace, that's probably would give a lot more, I don't know, a feeling of security and belonging, maybe.
No, exactly.
Of bringing it together there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think we do a lot of work on equality, diversity and belonging in terms of everything in that space to make sure that we do have something that's meaningful and people can be their own selves at work. When we do our colleague surveys, that's the ones we score 98% around people feeling that they belong, that they can be themselves, regardless of their gender, their race and their age at work as well.
And do you think that comes back to what we just talked about, was their brilliant conversations? Do you think that all feeds into that because the communication's well done in essence, isn't it? But also, I think obviously again we talk about things from a wellbeing point of view very often, but it sounds like people are given the opportunity to be able to discuss those situations if someone's going through something personally, or you know they've got a problem at home or a problem with themselves personally, about being able to kind of do that through that wellbeing conversations with the manager. And I would assume the manager then can signpost to the right relevant areas what support can be given.
Yeah, we've got amazing managers, absolutely amazing managers within the business, and amazing colleagues in general. I would say everyone that gets our purpose at Gentoo. We've got 79% of our colleagues are actually from Sunderland.
Right, okay.
Given we're in a unique position with that, because with that, as a social landlord and a social housing provider, we're situated and we serve Sunderland, which is unique, because what you would normally find with any other social landlord, that it's more widespread.
Right, so it would go more
regional.
across the northeast.
It would be wider than regional, so you'd be looking at more of a national basis, or covering the full of the northeast, full regional basis. But we're in a unique position with the Sunderland piece, and then that we've got 79% of colleagues that are from Sunderland. So we've got that community feel at Gentoo, so everyone's pulling in the same direction. I also think that it is down to that one-on-one support. If someone needs it, there'll be a tailored piece for that individual, no matter, you know, regardless of your age or what's needed. We'll always look to support in that space. Managers are well equipped. They're fantastic, as I said before, in terms of dealing with that. We've provided them with a lot of support in that space as well. And we have some great partnerships again with the likes of different charities in mind. We've got fantastic wellbeing toolkits and apps.
Yeah, so you've put all support. Of the principles and tools in place, isn't it?
Yeah, to make sure that if someone doesn't feel comfortable in the first instance, they can make that contact to a third party through the EAP if they need to. Or if they did feel comfortable, again, there's routes to that too with the manager, and then the manager can have support if need be from other parties.
So I think one of the crucial things that you said there, and I think, again, what we find very often is around that manager side of things, you know. So I think sometimes people can be promoted into a manager position because they've been great at the job, isn't it? Yep. It's that age-old accidental manager, and they don't quite know what to do or how to handle situations. And taken from you is that you really spend the time and nurture your managers to ensure that they can do all of these things that's expected of them with regard to the communication and the work ethic and the building the rapport with people. I think that seems like a crucial point. So do you have a very clear management programme that you do for everybody, and everyone has to do it?
Yeah, we call it Lead Together.
Okay.
And that was built on the back of our new values and the new behaviours framework. So we built that as part of the piece of cultural work that we did at the start as well. So everyone goes through that Lead Together programme. We'll have that continuously running. Yeah.
And since you set that up, is that where you've seen the significant change that's taken place?
Yes, and along with the trust.
Yeah.
Trust is built massively.
Yeah.
Massively, because as part of that Lead Together programme, you've got a piece of it which is around coaching. And how to get the best out of the conversations, etc. So there's loads of different dynamics to it, and also really listening and understanding what someone's trying to tell you as well.
Yeah.
So we use some really interesting techniques in that space.
Because that is interesting, and certainly, again, work that we've done in different places, and sometimes that manager can be the person. We did some work with domestic abuse, and it was sometimes that manager can be the person the colleague shares with the manager that this is what's happening. It's then crucial that they take the right steps, isn't it, and that they do the right things. Do it, because you potentially again could change somebody's life about what it is that you do at that time, isn't it? So that engaging with the manager is absolutely. It's vital.
It's critical, and that's why we need to make sure that our management is the crucial part. In terms of all of it. Even when it comes to change management, all the initiatives we're trying to build in at the moment, the performance, the pace. All of that piece, it's got to come from there.
It's got to come from there. Yeah, so they're a crucial part of the business.
Massively, they've got to drive it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're obviously talking about the manager side of things there, and obviously we've talked about the apprenticeship side. Yes. One of the things that you said earlier on was that you personally feel really passionate about the apprenticeship route and what it is, the work that you're doing, and not surprising because the work that you're doing sounds amazing and actually is life changing. But what do you think is the driver of the ambition and of the apprenticeship route for you personally?
For me personally, I think. A number of reasons. I think one of them is it's linking back to that unemployment piece. Yeah. And what we do in a region. I think we need to provide more routes into employment for younger individuals or older individuals that we've spoke about before that are looking for that change of career path. We do adult apprenticeships as well, and giving people those opportunities. Yeah. We are inundated with applications. So in our last round, last year, we had 26 opportunities. We had almost just touching 1,000 applications.
She had 26 apprenticeship opportunities and you had over 1,000 or nearly 1,000.
Nearly 1,000 applications. Now, what does that tell you?
That tells me that you're out there doing the right work.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's amazing,
Definitely.
Yeah.
But also that there's a huge amount of people coming back to that unemployment part of it, isn't it?
There's a massive need, and there's not enough businesses out there that are providing it. I mean, there's some fantastic ones, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is everyone, but we need more. Yeah. And the investment in those types of roles that it can bring the future of your organisation is second to none. Yeah. Bringing in those individuals and nurturing them through their apprenticeship, seeing them flourish and then them staying with you thereafter. It's amazing to see them grow, develop, and also become part of the business. Yeah. Really deep rooted as well, so it's so valuable. And I think the second piece for me is it's child poverty as well. I'm really passionate about child poverty. The work that we do at Gentoo is amazing in this space. Again, it's part of our corporate strategy, and our chief executive, Louise Bassett, is massively pushing this in the Northeast as well, which is amazing to see. But we need to do more. But the Northeast has the highest rate. 35,000 children are living in poverty in the Northeast. We're the highest in the UK, and we've remained the highest for
a long time,
decades. Yeah, and it's so sad. Again, there needs to be more done, and how we can help that as a business is, yes, by creating those opportunities, but also looking at the real living wage as well. We should be paying the right amount for our workforce as well, and I think it should be a non-negotiable.
Because there is child poverty where people aren't working, but actually there's still child poverty in people that are working parents, aren't there, as
exactly.
well? Yeah,
in work poverty.
In work poverty,
yeah,
I think.
and that's the whole piece. Yeah. And so that's where you're still falling into the child poverty piece. So that's why real living wage is so important. Yeah. For organisations, and doing a lot of work with the Real Living Wage Foundation and really pushing that within Sunderland again. It's something that I think, again, all businesses should be signed up to. Yeah.
And I think Sunderland is really doing an initiative on the living wage piece, isn't it? Yeah. To make sure that there's more and more businesses that are signing up to it. But you're right, it all impacts upon the child poverty part of it as well. Just kicking back to what you said there about the apprenticeships, obviously, I think there is quite a big disconnect, isn't there? You know, the children, young adults are coming out of school and education and saying they want the opportunities to be able to do it, but there's not many of those opportunities there. And I was talking to someone about it the other day, and they were saying kind of the quality of the CVs that are coming through aren't great. And, you know, so actually there's a piece around the schools trying to educate the children about what needs to be done with regard to a CV, what helps to be able to get jobs. You know, I think sometimes the schools are so focused just upon the educational part of it that actually they don't talk about that norm of the next bit, because actually, you know, the leave skills in the schools sometimes don't. I was talking to someone the other day that they didn't know that the graduate apprenticeship programmes had started, and actually they were nearly closed by the time the school had mentioned it. And, you know, there's those bits. So I think there's still a piece that the schools need to do to help that system along, isn't it?
Yeah, I do see them doing more, to be fair to them. Certainly the schools that we partner with, I mean, we find it really difficult to partner with all the schools that are actually reaching out to us.
I was going to say, because you can't do it all, isn't it?
We're inundated.
Yeah.
So the schools are reaching out, they want the help. So I urge any business to reach out to the local schools that they're in the area of, to see how they can help.
Yeah.
To go out and engage with them and the children. I think there is that piece with the schools. I think they are doing more around interview skills and recruitment skills and CV skills, etc. in that space. But I think there's more that businesses can do to provide that support. I mean, just putting out your apprenticeship roles, great. That's a step forward, isn't it? But what we've done is we've created a space on our website for anyone who's looking to apply for work with Gentoo, in terms of giving them a full suite of interview skills, CV writing skills. All of that recruitment piece is on our website.
Is on the website to be able to start
to be able to start and support that journey. The schools that we can't get to, we provide all of that collateral to as well. So they've got all of the materials to hold that session with the pupils too.
About the implementation.
Yeah, because we can't get to all of the schools, unfortunately. We don't have the capacity
to be able to do it.
But at least we're giving them something.
No, and that's a stepping stone in it all, isn't it? So 2 last questions I've got for you. So what would be your advice to young people now?
I think my advice would be is don't worry about being perfect. It's okay to be imperfect. You're going to learn. You're going to really develop. Take the opportunity to come in and really develop and grow. We're not expecting anyone to come in perfectly formed that can do this job from the off. That doesn't exist. It didn't exist with me.
No.
We've all got to start somewhere, don't we? And I think with that is to be curious. So when you do get the opportunity and you do join an organisation, is be curious and want to learn. Ask the questions. There's nothing like a stupid question, is there? And you hear that it's said all the time. But always be curious, ask questions, want to learn and be hungry to learn as well. And also look after yourself. So when you are in work and you're feeling unsure about something, or you need some help or guidance, just put your hand up and speak
out. That's good.
And ask.
And that's great advice, actually, because it is difficult being a young person, knowing what the right next step is and thinking that you need to do.
And it's scary.
Yeah, it is.
God, when I was leaving school, I didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be or any of that. And they are big decisions, and you might not always make the right one. But that's okay.
It's okay to be able to take the next step, isn't it? Yeah. And my last question for you is, what is your version of success? What does success look like to you?
In the context of
you personally.
Me personally, oh wow. I think success for me, you know, I've spoken about it today, haven't I? I think you can probably tell I'm very passionate about the Northeast and try and make a difference. So I think success for me would look like getting more businesses involved to help the drive of unemployment rates, child poverty rates within the Northeast.
And I think that's very good purpose.
Yeah.
It's very purposeful. No, well, I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much, Sam, for coming in, because it's been a great conversation. And I think just for people to learn more about what Gentoo do and actually the impact that they make, because I live in Sunderland and have done for a long time, and it's kind of actually, it's about that impact that it's making on the local area. So it's great to hear more, but actually realising that businesses smaller businesses can take some of what you can do and put it in place in the smaller business there as well. It's not only the big businesses that need to do that.
No, exactly. We all just need to pull in the same direction,
Definitely
don't we?
does, yeah. So thank you very much for your time.
No, you're welcome.
That's great, thank you. That is all for this episode of Mind the Generation Gap. I hope you found the conversation as valuable as I did, and it's clear when we actually take the time to listen, the gap between us doesn't feel anywhere near as wide.